Hey everyone, welcome back to the react.js course. So in this video, we'll be exploring about conditional rendering in a React application. So if you find this interesting, let's get started right away. So let's understand about conditional rendering in a React application. So pretty much conditional rendering can be defined as showing different components based on some conditions that we write in a particular file. It need not be only components, it can be any text, it can be any image, or it can be anything else based on the condition. So let's say if the condition is true for whatever we have given, so then we are going to show something. If the condition is not true, then we are going to show something else. Okay, so let's understand this with the help of a better example. So in the previous video, if you would have watched it, we had done the example of a counter, that is by understanding the prop drilling process. So pretty much in our app.js we have the counter component being rendered, and we have initialized our set state, use state over here, with the counter and set counter with the initial value of 0, and to the counter component we have passed some value, that is counter and set counter. As you can see, that's pretty easy to understand. So now if you go to the counter file, we have created another component, that is button component, and we are simply setting the counter. Okay, that is inside the button component we are getting the set counter by making use of props, and then we are increasing the counter by 1. Okay, so this is the previous understanding of the prop drilling process. So now we are going to do conditional rendering in this file itself. So over here, before that, just below the counter, let me initialize a button which says click me. So save the file. So once, let's check out the web page. Yeah, so you have two click me buttons. So one is for our counter. Okay, that is the first one, and the second one is the button that we just created. So for the second button, let's give some spacing towards the top. So let's say a margin top of 20. Okay, and then save the file. All right, it's looking good. So now let's give a state over here. Let's initialize our state. Let's say const toggle comma set toggle equals to use state, and let's provide an initial value of false. Okay, so save the file once, and next what is going to happen is we are going to provide an on click event for the button. Okay, so let us say set toggle, okay, so to whatever is the opposite of the toggle value. So if it is true, it's gonna be false, and if it's false, it's gonna be true. Okay, so now over here we're gonna write the condition, that is if the toggle, that is if the value is true or false, based on that we're going to render something. Okay, so if the value is true, we are going to render the counter component. All right, over here, if the value is not true, we are going to just write null. Okay, we are not going to show anything. So save the file. So now if you go to the web page, we should see only this button being shown on the screen. Okay, let's check that out. Yeah, so you can see only a single button on the screen. So now if I press on this button, the toggle value, which was initially false, is going to set to true because of this on click I've given instead of on. Yeah, it is on click. Oh, for React Native it is on press. Okay, so yeah, let me click on the button. Yeah, so you can pretty much see the counter. Okay, this is the basic example of conditional rendering. Okay, so now you can use that particular component since the condition which we have given is true. Okay, so over here, this is one way of conditional rendering. So another way is like if the toggle is true, we are pretty much going to show the component. Let's copy the component once, this one. Okay, so over here, so if the toggle is true, and then only we are going to show the component. So now if I save the file, nothing is going to happen. Okay, so over here, if you go to the screen, refresh the app, yeah, so now again at the initial stage the toggle is set to be false. So now when I click this, it's going to be set to true. So this is one way of, this is the second way of doing conditional rendering, that is if it is true only, then we are going to show this component. that is if we do not have a third condition. Okay, so yeah, so this is pretty much the way it works. So you can click it and it is going to work properly. Okay, so this is the basic understanding and an example of conditional rendering. So you can render anything, not only a component. Okay, so let's say we have another value initialized over here. So let's say const value equals to true. Okay, so over here let's remove all this, and let's say if the value, that is if it is true, and the question mark, that is if it is true, we are going to return something, else we are going to return something else. Okay, so over here we can return anything, as I told, not only a component. We can return a div, we can return a text, we can return a h2. Over here let's return a h2 value, and then let's say this is the value which is set to true. Else if this is not the condition, we're going to say null. Okay, so save the file. Now let's go back to our web page. So yeah, so now it should by default show the text, because we have set the value to be true over here. Yeah, this line, on the line number 9, we have set the value to be true. So it's going to check this condition, that is value. So essentially this value is holding true. Okay, so that's the reason it's showing this thing. And now if I set the value to false, it's just gonna show null, which is nothing. Okay, so save the file. Yeah, so now it's not gonna show anything. All right, so that's the way you do conditional rendering inside of a React application. Okay, so I think that's it for this video. Let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.